Hey everybody, I'm Nico.
And I'm TK.
And this is a special X's for Comics special edition bonus episode. Things are going crazy right now. It's like the
Boy, oh
multiverse is,
boy.
yeah, it's like folding in on itself, man. It's crazy. Okay, so it all started when Marvel and DC dropped bonus Infinite Comic crossovers.
That they never mentioned.
Not at all.
I mean, you cannot wade through comics fandom internet without some talk of Batman, Deadpool, Deadpool, Batman. Whether it is speculating about upcoming Batman, Deadpool stuff, whether it's talking about Grant Morrison being on there, analyzing every single story from Deadpool, Batman, doing that really stupid AI generated. The craziest thing happened in this story, and then it's just like, of course it did, because this is a non-canon, non-universe crossover story. Like, how dare you, Screen Rant, make me think that something happened? But you cannot. This is a huge thing in comics internet, and the issue is selling gangbusters.
Great.
Third reprinting, I think we're at.
Yeah, and so many shops have to limit the number of copies.
You can't. Yeah,
crazy.
Nobody can acquire all the variants, which is it's very cool, and as all as it should be, because it is great, and the idea of Morrison returning is really exciting. All very cool, but we just come to discover, and the two of us pay attention to we do wade through those things.
We pretend to know what we're doing.
Yeah, the research happens. We read things, news articles and everything. Anyway, we simply had no idea that both companies would be releasing Infinity Comics, doing crossovers.
And it really took me by surprise, because one of the things that I was really amazed by with Batman Deadpool was the amount of characters that they packed in. And then I still said to myself, the first one was Deadpool Batman. That is the one thing maybe in this whole thing, this naming convention, one then the other one then the one. It's a little much, right? So we started with Deadpool Batman. And so the stories there were pretty consistent with, who you'd expect to see. You had Deadpool, Batman, Captain America, Wonder Woman, Jeff and Crypto, Daredevil, Green Arrow, Rocket Raccoon and Green Lantern, specifically Hal, Old Man Logan and Batman from The Dark Knight Returns, and then the original character of Logo, who's Logan and Lobo. Guess we're going to get a ton of Wolverines that aren't that Wolverine, because then they announced the next one, which has another Batman Deadpool story, John Constantine and Doctor Strange, Nightwing and Wolverine Laura Kinney, and you've got Harley Quinn Hulk, Static and Ms. Marvel, and you kind of did notice there were some big names missing.
Mm-hmm.
And they're here. We've got Thor and Shazam and Flash and Fantastic Four, and they just dropped out of nowhere. And if that weren't enough, they came up with a way to get you to read it no matter what. If you're a Marvel Unlimited subscriber, you get a free month to DC Infinite, and it looks like if you have a DC Infinite account, you get a free month at Marvel. So, it really feels like they want to share libraries.
But then what was the other little announcement that you got that makes this silly shady?
I did notice that they said that keep an eye in the coming months for more of these stories, pretty much guaranteeing that you're not going to get the next one until after 30 days, so that
Which
you
is
have
the trial
to subscribe.
period.
Exactly.
Yeah. Your
They
trial
want their
period,
money.
I subscribed, I got the email from Marvel and sent it to Nico, because I was like, this is really crazy. They're really collabing. And then it's a 30-day trial, meaning that, if the next story comes in 5 weeks, I will have to pay that $12.99 in order to see what's happening on DC. Marvel, I'm already paid up for the year, so I'm sticking with that.
Oh, you could be crazy, and you could drop. I think I dropped $120 for DC Infinite Ultra, because I want those books a month later.
Yeah, I'm certainly considering it. And so that was one thing that I was really you and I were talking about this a little bit, and I was just I had a coffee, and so I couldn't type and elucidate this point. But I was kind of saying was, why wouldn't they do this? Neither company has anything to lose. It just sort of strengthens things. But something that in this case specifically Marvel has to lose is they are paving a way and pointing a way towards what might be a better product.
Yeah, it's a better app.
Even just on that thing alone, on the fact that you get the books 1 month later, not 3 months later, And Marvel fully knows that they're doing that. So it's very interesting because people had to have sat in meetings and thought about this. It's, on the one hand, to me, like if I'm talking about this with my fellow board members, it's not a cute look to say, and try this service, which is just like ours, except they do you one better than we do, and they get the books to you sooner. That makes us really seem like assholes. But then, are we so confident our library is great that we don't even care about that thing, which I love. I love the idea that they feel that way. Maybe I don't love it. Maybe I do, but like the library is great. I don't know. Are they so confident? It's an interesting thing. This collaboration is 4-dimensional, where the one that we cover in Amalgam is 3-dimensional, coming off of the 2-dimensional that was just the basic crossovers that we started with. This has evolved, and there's a lot to think about. I'm always just besotted thinking about the legal language that must go into, again, the fact that Axis is a character that can move through their 2 universes.
And where's he at?
And it's, well, where is he at? One thing, that's a bummer. 2, it always gets me back to that thing where they literally had to define what a mutant was in the courts, because that would determine rights for the characters themselves.
Yeah.
And so you're literally sitting in a court of law talking about a fictional definition that is very important to how everything will play out. And I think about that constantly when I think about, like, how do they share a single fucking thing? And just every year it gets more and more complicated. Every year there's more and more pressure to maximize shareholder value and to make sure you're not leaving a single dollar on the table that you will be held fiscally responsible for.
Totally.
and could get sued for. So how in the world do you produce these books? I don't know, but I'm stoked that they did this Infinity collab.
And I wonder if we're going to hit a point where they say, if you've got both, you can read the crossovers. Like, there will be a portal that, like, because at this point, one of the things that's crazy for me is I know that when I go to read some of this stuff, I've got to rely on my crossover omnibus or my amalgam omnibus or the loose issues that I have. For those of you who were collecting back in the day, or maybe your dad was, you could get these like gold cover reprints of the classic crossovers. They did Superman, Spider-Man, they did the other Superman, Spider-Man. Nothing changes. They did Batman, Hulk, X-Men, Teen Titans, and they did them with these nice gold trims, but like, you maybe didn't have the original. And I wondered how people were going to be able to connect with the ideas that they're doing in the crossover now. We're at a point where people want these stories. They want the multiversity. And that's actually what you and I brought up in like July when we started pitching this back and forth to each other. And then we came on here, we relaunched the show as X's for Comics. We put this out there that we were going to do the Amalgam verse and all of this crossover stuff. And we said it's because we felt really good about the companies coming together. And then in the middle of us working on it, they announced Deadpool Batman. And then in the middle of us working on that, they announced Batman Deadpool. And it just sort of keeps snowballing uphill because it seems impossible, right? Like, this task to bring these two companies together and get them to agree on anything seems almost impossible. All that said, while Warner Brothers had a really good theatrical year, the company is still floating somewhere around a reboot of Card Sharks. And so it's not exactly doing match game numbers. Fill in the blank.
They also had the better year, but their Superman did not meet Marvel's best year.
No.
It's just a different, it did better than Marvel's movies this year, but we're in a different world now. I don't know that Endgame is gonna do Marvel numbers.
Wait, like Ultimate Endgame or Doomsday?
Doomsday. Sorry,
well, because they're borrowing from each other now. Ultimate has Endgame, and we've got Doomsday in the movies.
I don't think Doomsday is going to do Endgame numbers. I don't think it's going to do Marvel numbers. So nobody's. I think really, it's going to be a minute before that happens ever again. For sure. Or it'll have to be different. So like DC had the better year, but they did not have. They did not have the best year. They didn't have one that compares to Marvel's best years, and there's like not an insignificant chance that in 2027 or by 2030, Disney doesn't own DC. It's not like the most likely thing, but I mean, Paramount wants it. I don't know that Paramount's gonna get it, and if they're selling Marvel in some way, like, I don't love the idea that Marvel owns all the biggest comic book property IP, but I like that idea better than the guy from Skydance owning it. So
Yeah, I can't help but kind of feel that if one thing can be given to Disney, it has shepherded in a good age of Marvel growth. You can say that maybe some of the creative choices have been missteppy, but please remember that DC bought Warner Brothers, backward, Warner Brothers bought DC in the late 70s. And so, like, they did it to make movies. And I don't think you can tell me every single thing that Warner Brothers has done with DC since then has been a gem of a moment. And so, like, I'm just not going to come and make assumptions. I'm going to sit here and wait and see what happens and then get judgy because I just don't know what's going to happen yet, man. I would have never
yeah,
guessed that I would get an advertisement that says, click here to read DC Comics, and it would have an image of Thor on it. I never imagined I would get an email from Marvel that says, click here to start your DC journey with a picture of Shazam on it. Like, it is so surreal to me that these two companies are even working together, let alone doing this thing that's called the Ultimate Fan Crossover. Like, that's legitimately very cool. If you need to tap a market that's already interested. Don't just cold call nobody.
yeah. I mean, I completely agree, and there is this level of like, let's just accept that we are one thing. We are the big two.
Yep.
And that's the big two is the big one. Like, it's the two big comic publishers. It is the two entities that, you know, they're not that separate. I mean, I don't, they, of course they are. Like, there's a lot of ways we can define how separate they are, but there's a lot of ways we can define how they are one.
They share creators. The characters that aren't the same, it's Submariner and Aquaman.
It's Swamp Thing and Man Thing.
It's Thor and Shazam.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and you know, yeah, the stories can find it. The creative teams can find it a lot. It's also just like 9 times out of 10, you're going to the shop for one or both companies' books. If you are somebody who reads both, then you're obviously going for both. But like the next guy who comes in, it's 50-50. He's going for Marvel or DC. You know, you measure comics and Batman's, but Spider-Man's tend to be the most successful book that comes out a lot of the time.
Yeah.
There's so many ways in which it's just, and it's also just like, okay, so if these two disappeared tomorrow, every comic shop would implode.
Yeah, I mean, that's unarguable.
Yeah, and if one disappeared, they really would. You know, you've just lost your leg. And so, you know, you need both in order to live. And I don't know. It's there. It feels correct to at least be wading in the pool of this truth, of this idea that this is all just one thing, might as well work together. I don't know how long it could go on, and I don't know where it can go. But right now, in this moment, it feels incredibly correct to me to get an email from Marvel saying, hey, check out our not really competitor. Like, this is not even Coke and Pepsi.
No, they're like brothers. They are like,
yeah, they're those two stupid brothers
from Marvel DC. Yeah.
Yeah. Go check out our brother. We lose absolutely really nothing, because again, I don't even know that I think that them saying go check out his better release drops than ours hurts them that badly, even though I do notice it. Go check him out. Yeah, that feels correct to me, and I did do it, and I did read the book, and I'm probably going to use that subscription for a bunch before I decide whether or not I'm going to keep DC Universe DC Universe Infinity.
And that's the thing. Some people still call it DC Go. Some people call it DC Infinite. And as you mentioned earlier, you know, a lot of the AI bots just sort of pull language. And so you're kind of getting all sorts of wrong things in these advertisements too. It's a little all over the place.
Yeah.
But to jump to these two stories for a minute, I just want to put out there, Marvel DC Thor Shazam by Al Ewing, Jethro Morales, Eric Arciniega, and VC's Joe Sabino. Planning Ahead featuring Flash and Fantastic Four by Jeremy Adams, Adrian Gutierrez, Romulo Ferrando Jr., and Josh Reed. Wow. This was so I gave my average score for the previous volume without that logo story. Was kind of like a B plus. I didn't love the Old Man Logan, Old Man Batman story, and you can check out our coverage. We're really proud of it. Please go listen to that. We did it same day, and we'll be doing Batman Deadpool same day as well. Here's my Batman hat and my Deadpool hat, my Deadpool cardigan, and my Batman shirt. I am all in on this, but these two stood out like the Captain America Wonder Woman story. I thought both of these were a knockout, and I was prepared not to. Al Ewing is brilliant, but he's kind of hit or miss for me. Jeremy Adams, I read kind of everything he does at DC because he does a lot of the Lantern stuff. Still kind of hit or miss for me. I thought both of these were knockouts, and the art was even better.
Yeah, I agree on all fronts. This is one of those things where I'm really glad these stories were not in the books. I'm really glad these stories were created for this medium, and that they specifically picked a couple high-level characters and did something special with them that felt really solid. It felt like it could have been in these books, in either Deadpool Batman or Batman Deadpool, or Superman Spider-Man, Spider-Man Superman.
It's just so annoying, these titles.
I know, and I keep doing it. But both of them felt like the content and quality was worthy of being in print if it needed to be. But I really appreciate when that level of content and quality is put into the digital, the Infinite books. And when, in this case, everything feels low stakes, because what are these universe, like, what is this? Where is this happening? Will this ever be discussed? What is this universe? Who knows? Could be higher stakes in the future. Right now it feels very low stakes, but like Avengers Academy feels very low stakes to me, in that I feel as though Marvel will rarely, if ever, reference any of the character development that happened, because they will recognize that a lot of people did not read or subscribe to it because it was in Ultimate, or because it was in Unlimited.
Yeah.
And therefore, even when I think it's great and I love all the character development and I think it's really cool, I'm just like, yeah, I'm never seeing hot young Blackheart somewhere else. Or like, if I do get hot young Blackheart, I'm not getting a bunch of the other stuff that came in that book. Like,
right.
All of it is not going to come to the future because it's just too much stuff that they're going to say nobody read.
I agree.
And so there's a lot of stuff. There's also like, Marvel rival stuff is never going to be great canon because it's only released digitally and it's just sort of there for entertainment. So it feels kind of low quality. It's good, but it's not great. Anyway, these felt really top quality. They felt, putting Al Ewing is always a great thing. And I agree. I am hard on Al Ewing. I judge him. Listen, I judge him. I feel good saying this. I judge him the same way I judge Ben Percy. I love both men as writers, and I think they can do anything. I think they can write some of the best stuff I've ever read. So when they don't, I do want to call it out because I know it's possible for them to do so. And Al Ewing writes some stuff that I just think is so brilliant and blows my mind and really gets me. And sometimes I think, this blew your mind, and you were so pleased about it, but it didn't blow mine, and I'm not giving this one to you.
It's Mariah Carey doing runs. She does them for herself.
Yeah, exactly. That's her. And you know what? I love people. That's also a way to live. Like, that's not, nobody's asking for my praise, so I don't feel bad when I withhold it. Ewing has written some stuff lately that I have been I felt like this, yeah, that was for you. This was not for me. This was for you, and I didn't really see it. And I was a little nervous about seeing him in Deadpool Batman, because I was like, don't make this about you. Don't make this about your weird highfalutin ideas. Like, You're not always Morrison. And then he wrote this hilarious, fun, really awesome story. And so then I was super stoked to see him on Thor Shazam. And I feel like I got something that was less humorous than Green Lantern Rocket, but was not as I demand to be taken seriously as Defenders Beyond
or Sword,
series, but two that I absolutely love.
Yeah.
But they are really like, we demand to be taken serious. It really, really wants you to say Al Ewing writes conceptually like the greats. And he does. He just maybe sometimes seems a little desperate for it. This was very fun. Even like the thing of Shazam being an acronym for a bunch of gods, which I assume that's knowledge. That's like universal knowledge that I just don't have because I don't read Shazam. But then Mr. Mind being an acronym that used both Marvel and DC characters.
You have evil on there twice. Yes, double evil.
Again, that type of humor and like great high concept stuff, but also fun and lighthearted.
And the use of transformation. The use of transformation was so clever because, first of all, we have abandoned the idea of Donald Blake as a central figure in Thor mythos. We've allowed him to come back in and out depending on the era,
and he's in right now, which is why.
But this dexterity of transformation, this idea of, oh, I'll have the power, then you'll have the power, then you'll have the power, then I'll have the power. This shared symbiosis is such an incredible tribute to what made these two characters spectacular in their own right. And then there were almost no side characters that weren't just names for us to compare them to. What an incredible way to use the invisible other to propel the individual hero story further in a way that never felt they were competing for page space. It felt like Thor and Shazam celebrated each other on the page. It was just two men celebrating each other's strength.
Yeah, I mean, it literally was four characters. It's them, Mr. Mind, and the Wizard. I thought the Wizard's name was Shazam. I didn't know he had a different name now. Maganamana.
Beep, deep, beep, deep.
But like there was no and Jane Foster and Mary Marvel are here,
right?
Which and that's where in so much of this stuff we get into, well, there's your 1-to-1, so you add secondary and tertiary characters from both characters' background, and you go, so you see Jimmy Olsen is the same as having Robbie at the Daily Bugle,
right?
And it starts to cheapen it, and it's too many characters. It doesn't actually add anything.
Adam Brody
We're not dumb. We can all compare the two sides and know who the guy is in the other guy's story. So limiting it to 4, perfect. And it's a very, like, they're in a room. This all just happens in one room.
It's like
it's
Cube.
And Hypercube. And there's a third one too, I think. Ubercube. Yeah. Ubercube would be good. I should pitch that. Okay, so and
I'm commissioning it.
Let's do it. I think the only thing that I might have liked, a little cheeky moment for Mr. Al Ewing of all people, is a little bit of Magical Girl reference.
Mm-hmm.
Because transformation, Magical Girl's own transformation. Come on. And especially now, and I know Al Ewing knows that too, and it just like, if we're being silly and fun, I just might have liked something, just a little bit of like
just maybe a little bit of spinning, maybe seeing some of their different costume iterations over the years. I loved the references like Icarus, Etrigan. So I'm a huge Etrigan guy for no reason, and I think he's so great. For me though, one of the things that literally was so important to understand about the male identity at this point in storytelling is Thor was excited to share his worthiness.
Yes.
Thor was not here to
he specifically wanted to know.
Yeah.
He said, no, pick up the hammer because I think, and lo and behold.
And then Donald Blake got to be worthy. And this idea of we're all enough is something that I think a lot of men need to kind of come to terms with. And for Al Ewing to be brave enough to use this space to talk about the state of accepting your own ability and allowing others to have it too, that was beautiful.
And speaking of your own ability and allowing others to have it too, I would not have guessed from my limited knowledge of DC, where I'm still learning, that Barry was somebody that one like you who knows both universes would say is at Reed's level. If that came up as some kind of trivia question, I would have said no. Like, Reed is obviously much smarter than Barry, and like the two can't go toe to toe. What a fun, enlightening thing to experience, that Barry Allen is a great chess partner for Reed Richards.
It's why he's such a great foil for Grodd.
Sure. Which I got in the issue, but I just wouldn't have thought about before this.
I'm gonna just put it on the table real quick. I am uncomfortably attracted to Grodd, and like
I know you said it a lot.
It's so hot that they make him so caked out, and
yeah, he's a very muscly monkey in this one for sure. Him's a big boy.
It's just Marco Kane all over the place.
And very evil. He do be possessing everybody. This was just a lot of fun. This really got me thinking about like Flash. It felt like kind of a missing Fantastic Four. Like, he could have been the Fantastic Five. Like, one of them also gets speed powers, and it's their friend Barry Allen, and he could have been on the team. And that's not. I love the idea that the thing that we've always said we want out of this work is reveal something about the characters by reflecting them on the one other huge universe that deals with similar stuff and has comparable characters and has comparable power sets, and is doing all that. And, you know, we've said over and over, unfortunately, Amalgam just mostly fails to do that. And like, a lot of times I'm talking about like deep insights into the nature of a person, but also a thing as stupid as, like, not stupid, but just kind of minor as, yeah, Barry Allen could have been the fifth Beatle. You know, he could have been the fifth Fantastic. He could have been their friend. He's as smart as Reed. He actually does science adventure. Like, it all actually really adds up.
He maps the multiverse in his spare time.
What did they go do as soon as they had to reset the whole thing? So it makes a ton of sense. That's not a huge revelation, but it really, I feel like I know both sets of characters a lot better now, from a really minor plot wise, in terms of what will ever come up in their stories and their main universes, inconsequential story. I feel like I know both better. I feel like I want to read Flash stories a little bit more. And I feel like I hate the idea that the Fantastic Four exists a little bit less.
I love that. And I feel like it had to do with the voice taking care of it. For me, you know, Sue should be the most powerful member of the Fantastic Four ability-wise. So her hitting Flash hard enough to knock him out of Grodd's control is Superman strong. That is amazing. But the thing that elevated everything, I mean, so for those of you who don't know, Monopoly is like a huge part of my personality somehow. I'm a big Monopoly Go boy. What's up? I have the Fantastic Four's tokens there. Check it out. But the Escape from Arkham Asylum game, that's so clever. That's so funny that they were playing it. But we saw Jay Garrick. We saw Impulse. We saw Wally. We saw Reverse Flash. We got this wealth of Flashes that all got to celebrate with the Fantastic Four. And there's kind of a coolness to that. It was the Fantastic Flashes alongside the Fantastic Four. We got,
and that was
everything.
That was another really smart part, was we built in get 4 Marvel characters. And every page that they're there, we get some of their interaction. We understand, you know, if you are a full DC boy who really doesn't know much about the Fantastic Four, by default, by the time a DC character even shows up in the book, you've sort of learned something about who the Fantastic Four are. And then you continue to, because even though there's 2 DC characters now, one of them is the villain. The 2 DC characters aren't really interacting in an elucidating way. It's just sort of antagonistic. Barry is interacting with the Fantastic Four, so like you're getting a little bit about who he is, but he's basically a standalone hero at that point. And then we take on a multiversal capacity that introduces us to ultimately more Flash characters, more DC characters than Marvel ones, but they don't get as much screen time. So it's just a beautiful balance.
Yeah.
Like if you are a strictly Marvel person, once you get to the DC universe and the Flash family, you are getting this really nice sampler of characters that seem really cool, that make you kind of like, it's just a beautiful kind of visual montage and quick montage that just sort of says like, this is the Flash fam. And I think does a really good job of like arguing that they're kind of cool. And so it just is a very well-balanced offering of what everybody has to give.
And for me, the excitement was that there's potential for more at the end of this. I can see Thor and Shazam being able to call on each other now because they've shared the power. I can see Flash and Fantastic Four working together now because they've shared this moment.
Yeah.
This was 2 A- on an A to E scale. If we're doing S, then this is an S- for me across the board. This was best foot forward. This was making a difference in telling us why these matter. I was really worried that Flash Fantastic Four was going to read like Superman Fantastic Four because there's a mind-controlled character, and then you meet an evil version of one of the characters. I'd been nervous, but they pull it out. The whole team, the art, the look, the vibe. This was a win across the board for everyone, and I'm rarely this effusive of crossover moments. So this was a big win day for me.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think A- across the board. Really just fantastic stories that showed us a lot of what this collaboration can do and how it can be fruitful in directions we didn't even consider. Like I didn't for a second consider that they would do digital exclusive crossovers.
Ever.
I didn't even like consider saying like, wouldn't that be cool, but they'll never do it.
Yeah.
I just literally was like, well, if they were going to do something like that, they would have told us. And so part of the minus, by the way, guys, is like, I think this was undersold, underpromoted. Yeah. And it's a criticism that I have on Marvel for sure. I just don't know enough about the DC workings, and I have not been following them long enough to have experience with this, but it's something NICO and I talk about all the time. Marvel just, if it is not an MCU property or an adjacent like merch moment, Marvel is underselling and underpromoting so much of their stuff. In this case, one of the big ways we talked about it was just they have a host of phenomenal podcasts.
Oh yeah.
Fiction podcasts that really, it's just great content if you like Marvel stories, and they never promote them. They never talk about them. They didn't when they were coming out. They were like, they didn't really even get, I think a few of them got a little bit of advertising space in books, but like just not like I feel was appropriate. And similarly, this just like I would have shouted from the rooftops that these were coming, and they were so cool. Because they just like, they're very cool. And I would be really, really proud, and I would really want to give these to our audience. So yeah, like part of the minus for me comes from just like, it's insane that you and I stumbled upon this one day and we're just like, oh, okay, this is happening too.
Yeah, and it was amazing. I had such a good time. I can't wait to come back and talk about our regularly scheduled stuff. We got a few more episodes to go. We're going to talk about all the rest of the Batman crossovers. We got JLA Avengers. We got
Big day.
Batman Deadpool, covering it live on YouTube the day it drops. You definitely want to be there. So go to your shop, grab a copy. Remember, like, comment, and subscribe on this channel, on our podcasts, X's for Comics, and more. TK, where can everybody find you if they want to find all about what you think about comics?
You can find me on the socials at TK Accidental. Where can they find you?
You guys can find me in my blinking ring light over at NICO Action, NICO. Like I said, like, comment, and subscribe. But more importantly, guys, do us a favor. Be brave, stay bold, evolve daily. I'm making stuff up because this crossover was so cool. We can't wait to see you guys next time. And check out Batman Deadpool when it drops on November 19th so we get more of these stories.